Imagine a muddy field in Bavaria, May 1945. The engines are still ticking as they cool. Dust hangs in the air. Soldiers who spent years behind the wheel of these machines are being told to walk away and never look back. In this rare photo, we see rows of Dodge WC trucks parked in perfect military formation, engines silent for the first time in years. Their canvas tops are torn, their tires are worn to the cord. Mud from 3 different countries is caked into their wheel wells. These trucks carried ammunition through the hedgerows of Normandy. They hauled wounded men out of the Hurtgen forest. They towed anti-tank guns across the deserts of North Africa. And now, with the war over, nobody seems to know what to do with them. Thousands of these vehicles are simply left standing, engines cold, keys still in the ignition, waiting for orders that will never come. The war was over, but a new mystery was just beginning. What really happened to the thousands of Dodge WC military trucks after the guns fell silent? To understand the mystery, you first have to understand the scale. Between 1940 and 1945, Dodge built roughly 255,000 WC series trucks. This included half-ton and three-quarter-ton variants, ambulances, weapons carriers, command cars, and radio trucks. These were not glamorous machines, they were workhorses. Soldiers nicknamed the larger versions Beeps, a play on the smaller Jeep, because they filled a similar role but carried more weight. They served on every front of the war. American forces used them in Europe and the Pacific. Britain received them through Lend-Lease. The Soviet Union took in tens of thousands under the same program, using them on the brutal Eastern Front. By the time Germany and Japan surrendered, Dodge WC trucks were scattered across 5 continents. Some were parked in French villages, some were buried in Pacific jungle mud, some were rolling through the streets of newly liberated Manila. The question was never whether these trucks mattered. The question was what happens to an army's machinery once the army has nothing left to fight. In the first weeks after surrender, chaos ruled the battlefield logistics chain. Picture supply depots overflowing with vehicles nobody had planned for. The war had ended faster in some theaters than anyone expected, and military planners were suddenly staring at mountains of surplus equipment with no clear disposal plan. In Europe, American quartermaster units began sorting vehicles into 3 rough categories. Some were still combat-ready and would be needed for occupation duty. Some were damaged beyond economical repair, and some simply had nowhere to go. Local civilians in France, Belgium, and Germany noticed quickly. Trucks left unguarded overnight sometimes had their tires stripped by morning. Batteries disappeared. Fuel siphoned into jerry cans vanished within hours. In the Pacific, the situation was even more extreme. Trucks that had been driven through jungle mud for months were now sitting on remote islands with no easy way to ship them home. The cost of transporting a used truck across an ocean often exceeded the truck's actual value. Meanwhile, in Soviet-held territory, a different fate awaited. The USSR had received thousands of Dodge WC trucks through Lend-Lease, and Moscow had no intention of returning them. Soviet military doctrine treated captured and loaned Western equipment as valuable resources, not temporary tools. Within months, a strange new industry emerged almost overnight, the business of disposing of an entire war's worth of machinery. For a staggering number of Dodge WC trucks, the end came fast and industrial. Imagine walking through a scrapyard outside Naples in early 1946. Rows of trucks, engines gutted, sit waiting for the crusher. Hydraulic presses flattened steel frames into cubes the size of a small room. The U.S. military's official policy called for destroying certain classes of surplus equipment rather than shipping it home. Transporting a used truck across the Atlantic simply cost more than the vehicle was worth on the post-war market. In parts of the Pacific, the destruction was even more dramatic. On islands like Okinawa and various staging points in the Philippines, bulldozers were used to push entire fleets of vehicles into pits and trenches. Some were burned first. Others were simply buried where they stood, engines and all, sealed under tons of tropical earth. This practice became infamous among soldiers who had maintained these machines for years. Many described watching perfectly functional trucks pushed into ravines, doused in fuel, and set alight, simply because shipping them home was not economically justified. But destruction was only part of the story. A massive portion of the Dodge WC fleet found new life in ways the original Army planners never imagined. Across liberated Europe, surplus trucks became the backbone of civilian reconstruction. Farmers in France and Belgium purchased decommissioned WC trucks at auction for a fraction of their original cost, stripping off military markings and converting them into hauling vehicles for grain, livestock, and lumber. In the newly independent nations emerging from colonial rule, surplus American trucks became essential infrastructure. Dodge WC vehicles turned up powering bus routes in parts of the Middle East, hauling goods across mountain roads in South America, and serving as makeshift fire trucks in small towns that had never owned motorized equipment before. The military itself repurposed thousands more. Trucks that passed inspection were shipped to Korea, years before anyone expected another major conflict, quietly maintained in reserve depots. Some were transferred through military aid programs to Allied nations rebuilding their own armed forces, including several Western European countries reconstructing their militaries from almost nothing. And in a stranger twist, several Dodge WC trucks reportedly ended up in the hands of newly forming national armies in the Middle East during the late 1940s, purchased through grey market surplus dealers who had bought entire depot inventories for pennies on the dollar. Then there are the individual stories, the ones that feel almost impossible. In this rare photo taken decades after the war, we see a Dodge WC-51 sitting inside a barn in rural Norway, untouched since the late 1940s. The farmer who owned the land had used it briefly for hauling timber before the engine seized. Rather than scrap it, he simply parked it and closed the barn doors. It sat there, forgotten, for over 60 years. When collectors finally discovered it in the early 2000s, the truck still had its original wartime paint beneath decades of dust. The tires had rotted away completely, but the frame, the body, and much of the drivetrain remained intact, preserved by the dry, cool conditions inside the barn. Another Dodge WC weapons carrier surfaced in a different kind of hiding place. Deep in a French farmer's field, half buried where it had apparently gotten stuck during the liberation of Normandy, its exposed metal rusted into the landscape until a metal-detecting enthusiast noticed the unusual shape breaking the surface of a hedgerow in the 1990s. These survival stories share a common thread. The trucks that lasted longest were often the ones that vanished from official records entirely, tucked away, forgotten, and simply left alone by history. Here is something most people never learn about these vehicles. Some Dodge WC trucks captured or acquired by opposing forces during the war were still in active service years later, on the other side of new conflicts. Vehicles originally supplied to Chinese nationalist forces during World War II later fell into communist hands during the Chinese Civil War, continuing to serve in a fight the original American manufacturers never anticipated. Another strange detail involves the Soviet Union. Thousands of Lend-Lease Dodge trucks sent to the USSR during the war were never returned, despite official agreements suggesting otherwise. Many quietly disappeared into Soviet military inventories, some remaining in use well into the 1950s, repainted, relabeled, and stripped of any trace of their American origin. Perhaps strangest of all, in the decades following the war, surplus Dodge WC trucks began appearing in unexpected corners of popular culture and industry. Some were converted into early fire engines for small American towns that lacked the budget for purpose-built equipment. Others became the basis for makeshift tow trucks and even early recreational vehicles, decades before van life culture existed. And in a detail that surprises even military historians, Certain Dodge WC ambulances continued operating in rural hospital systems well into the 1950s, quietly saving lives long after the war that built them had ended. Today, the surviving Dodge WC trucks occupy a strange middle ground between forgotten machine and treasured relic. Military vehicle museums across the United States and Europe now display carefully restored examples, their engines rebuilt, their canvas tops replaced, their paint matched precisely to period-correct military specifications. In these museums, visitors can walk right up to the same model of truck that once hauled ammunition through the Ardennes. Private collectors have become the unlikely guardians of this history. Across the world, dedicated hobbyists spend years and tens of thousands of dollars restoring rusted-out hulks discovered in barns, fields, and forgotten military depots, piecing together original parts sourced from swap meets and online forums dedicated entirely to WC series preservation. Some trucks have been found in truly unlikely locations. Reports over the decades have surfaced of Dodge WC vehicles discovered abandoned in remote parts of North Africa, half swallowed by desert sand, their metal bodies baked and preserved by decades of dry heat rather than destroyed by it. A handful even remain in agricultural use today, quietly hauling supplies on remote farms in Eastern Europe and parts of Asia, their original purpose long forgotten by the people who now depend on them for daily labor. Every rediscovered Dodge WC truck tells the same underlying story. A machine built for a war that ended 8 decades ago, somehow still standing, still whole, waiting patiently to be found. In the end, the fate of the Dodge WC was never really about steel and rubber. These trucks were witnesses. They carried soldiers into the worst moments of the 20th century and carried survivors back out again. When the war ended, so many of them simply vanished into scrapyards, sand pits, and quiet barns, their stories buried along with them. But the ones that survived, the rusted, forgotten, half-buried few, remind us of something important. Even the most ordinary machines can outlive the wars that built them, carrying pieces of history forward long after everyone who once depended on them has been forgotten too. Somewhere right now, in a barn nobody has opened in decades, another one might still be waiting,